What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Core Stats, powered by the Mayo Media Net, presented by Jock Market, the very best brand new daily fantasy app where Wall Street meets Main Street meets 161st Street, and we got the fat pockets to prove it. Use the code MMN for Mayo Media Net. They're going to match the first $100 for free. If it's free, it's for me. But forget the shilling. We are the men and the women in the arena with the black eyes, the scars, and, like I said, those fat pockets to prove it. There's no jackpot, which I love. I know it doesn't sound like a good thing. I don't want to play for all or none. I want to grind out percentage points. I got to keep the lights on and the kids fed. And I know a lot of people are trying to do the same thing. Betting and action is fun, but winning is probably a bit more fun. And the best way to do that is through sustainability, being smart, and again, not playing for all or none. You know, parlays and risking is fine. DraftKings, DFS, and all that stuff is great. But I think when you're playing for the ceiling, the risk should be dialed down. Jock Market, you could really look at as a potential, as a profit center. All right, let's get into the three pillars of profit. The first one being daily DFS and Jock Market. We're going to go over the fantasy SP 7-day look ahead. You know me, I'm bringing the whole kit and caboodle. And then we're going to do the first look parlay and a couple bets. We'll look at the board. It's kind of a short slate. All right, we got a lot to do. Let's dive right up into it. Again, the very first pillar of profit. Let's get into the stack report. So again, man, I know it's coming hot and heavy, and I know it's kind of hard to make like a singular, commodity of all these things, right? Because it's daily. Some people are playing total base bets. Some people have access to Jock Market, which I fully suggest you do. I'm doing all of them, and I know it sounds like sometimes I'm knocking DFS. I'm not really knocking DFS. I'm just knocking it as a percentage of portfolio. I've really fallen in love with these winner-take-all DFS contests, which, I mean, to be honest, isn't DFS winner-take-all anyway? Do you really want to finish in 8th place and make $3? No, I'd rather save the risk, maybe get into another contest for a winner-take-all shot. So again, it's all about how you kind of segment that portfolio and how you kind of compartmentalize your risk. There's room for everything, providing that you do the math and, just go through the machinations that it take to be sustainable, like I said, to cash those checks. All right, first stack, we're looking at Houston Astros righties. They're starting to wake up against Marco G and the Mariners, but I know it's not necessarily the Astros we're looking at, and that's what I love about the model so much. We're looking for Chas McCormick, Yuli Gurriel, and Aledmys Diaz. Now, these are a perfect example of how to apply these names. So, in DraftKings, DFS, FanDuel, and the like, we're looking for the back end of the Houston Astros lineup. In Jock Market, we're looking for whichever of these players happen to be on the board. Remember, Jock Market is a finite slate, which I like because you don't get backdoored, right? In DFS, every home run seems to hurt you that isn't yours. Jock Market's not the case. Sometimes offense happens, that players are not on the board, and it doesn't really matter. It's really, really great. You don't have to be so precise because there aren't as many entries and none of the multi-entry stuff, all those combinations, and all the other reasons that we like Jock Market so much. Beyond that, if you can't get to Jock Market and you're betting, I think total base prop bets are in play for every single one of these guys. In particular, I would say every name we mentioned is a viable play for 1/2 base. I'm not a huge fan of 1.5 total bases. I'm very conservative. Remember, total bases do not include walks. All right, let's move it on. My Yankees, the Pinstripers, the Bronx Bombers. You know I love the Highlanders, kid. And they look really good. I'm the first person to bet against the Yankees. I'm highly critical of them. They look good right now. They've done a really good job with the offense and rotational pieces. That's how you keep guys healthy. Lots of yoga going on there. Hey, listen, it's working right now. Give me the Yankees righties against Ross Stripling, who's been okay this year. I don't think he's allowed a home run yet. I'm going to sell the rip, right? The opposite of buying the dip. I'm going to sell the rip. The price is up here. I think it belongs a little bit down there. Give me Stanton. Give me Donaldson. Look for Gleyber Torres. And the last thing I forgot about it, of course, this being a Jock Market show, is we want to be thinking it for Jock Market terms in terms of high, medium, and low. Now, again, these are not hard parameters, but we'll give you an idea of where to let it go. And again, the main takeaway for Jock Market opposed to DraftKings is the idea of chalk, right? So let's say Chas McCormick. The word gets out today, Chas McCormick, smash spot. He's really cheap. There's 100% ownership on DraftKings, and it nullifies the leverage. In Jock Market, if Chas McCormick is on the slate and he's cheap, it means there's inherent leverage because the market hasn't taken the price up with the demand. I hope that makes sense. It's really maybe the most important reason why we're making money at this, because when everybody's chasing a single player in DFS, it's meaningless. When we get our cheap guys in Jock Market, it's a hit. And if they get really expensive, we let it go and make people take on more risk to get those guys. It's really, really great. Next stack, the Twins righties. I've been doubting the Twins. I think it's time to start backing them, going up against Tyler Wells, looking for Byron Buxton and Gary Sanchez. Yeah, I know. Sometimes the stack we're looking for is righty on righty. It has to do with placement. Sometimes balls breaking in to the middle of the plate. It's not always lefty-righty. Don't always walk into that rake. That's not always the case. In fact, so a lot of pitchers have reverse splits, and again, it depends on break and movement profiles. Next up, Cardinals righties against the old man Zach Greinke, a little long in the tooth. St. Louis came out of the box so very hot. Now Hedman is down, so we're going to be looking at those back-end pieces, but always Nolan Arenado crushing righties right now. And whoever is in that middle infield, if it's Paul DeJong or Edmundo Sosa, they might both be playing, they might both be viable. So keep an eye on that. Again, that's why the Mayo show here is very important, but it's the first brick in the building, right? So the foundation, you can't go all the way up to the sky if the foundation isn't strong. So we're here every day, Monday through Friday, building a strong foundation so we can go up to the sky. But that work has to continue throughout the day. Check me out on Twitter, MLB Moving Averages, at MLB Moving AVG on a Bluebird Twitter machine. I'm on Patreon as well. I know the P word stinks, but there's no paying at all. The only P is profit for you. It's 100% free. There is a chip jar if you want, but like, whatever, man. I don't do this. Listen, I'm not doing this for the tips. If I was doing this for the tips, I wouldn't even share the information. It's not really worth it. All right, so that's the first pillar of profit. Houston righties, Yankee righties, Twins righties, Cardinal righties. It is a short slate. Games all up and down. There's an early game or two, so fantasy heads, make sure they get those lineups set, and that is the second pillar of profit. That'll take us right into it. We're going to do the 7-day pitcher look ahead. I tried to save a little room here as far as time goes because there is a lot of work to do. But hey, listen, a lot of work never scared me none. All right, let's dive right up into it. If you're unfamiliar, we're going to use the Fangraphs probable grid, which I highly recommend. And even further, if you can, you should support Fangraphs. They do a wonderful job. They make a lot of what we see, in this new analytically driven world possible. So I have the premium subscription. I'm actually trying to come up with a good way to do a giveaway for one. Maybe we'll do something like that. I think now that I said it, I like to do this stuff on air. That way I'm committed. Because again, once I open the mouth, I'm backing it up. You bet your bottom dollar, the big dude on that one. All right, let's dive into it. We're going to go alphabetical order, league by league. American League first, American League East. To begin, we mentioned Tyler Wells. He's going twice with the Orioles. I'm not running him out there. Even with the decent matchups, it's Twins and the Royals. But if the Twins beat him up, you stepped on the rake. Now you're in trouble. And the Royals haven't been good. But that's the two-step that kind of really worries me. Zimmerman, I think, is almost against anybody right now. He has the Twins as well. But if he could just nullify them, I'm a little more worried about Wells and Zimmerman. And then you get the Royals in the back end. Zimmerman is an ad everywhere. I don't know. Some people I think are down on Baltimore pitching. Don't buy the jersey. They changed a lot of things in the back end there behind the curtain, and I think they're going to be just fine. Boston, Michael Wacha against the Angels and the White Sox. That one's right on the fence. I know some people like Wacha. He's been very good. I have been a detractor, but if you're stuck, you're going to start him. If you have any option, don't just start him for the two-step, because remember, Angels offense is really good, and again, if it gets lumped, not going to be good. I'm sorry, that was Boston versus L.A. I'm sorry, Noah Syndergaard is going to be going for the L.A. in that game. I'm sorry, but it's Wacha going twice against LA and the White Sox. Sorry, I'm sorry about that. But for the audio-only listeners, that apologies for you. For the video listeners, hey man, you don't really need me in the big mouth. You can hit the mute button and just check out the graphics. So everyone that listens, I fully recommend you get over to the Fangraphs tool or over to the video and check out the screenshots. Everything is nice and neat and color-coded, lefty-righty, and just all the stuff home and away. Really all the things that you want to see all at once before setting fantasy lineups, pitching, starts, or even like Survivor Leagues and stuff like that. I have a Survivor League starting up today as well. Yankees going 6 games. You got to go with Montgomery, really. No questions there. Tampa Bay have Rasmussen going twice. Ryan Yarbrough going twice. That's the real tempting one. It's against Oakland and Seattle, so I get it if your play is matchup based, but I've been really worried about Yarbrough. I like to see these guys first before I get behind him. He's also be facing Blackburn and Flexen, and I know. On the edge, it's not like the most, kind of sexy, sultry names, but those guys are good, and, they typically may lose those games. So just giving you an idea from the betting lens, there's a good chance that that's the case. So Yarbrough, I would fade, but if you're stuck, you go with the two-step. Toronto, stripping going twice. Again, I've been off stripping. I used to like him a couple of years ago with the Dodgers. He's going to get Yankees, and on the back end, he's got Cleveland and Zach He has Tristan McKenzie, I'm sorry. So he's going to be an underdog in that one, even as Toronto probably, or at least close to the board. That's on Saturday. But I don't know, against the Yankees and the Guardians, I guess you got to roll Stripling. He's fallen into the category like Walker. So again, I don't try and like bark at you people and tell you exactly what to do. Show you a little bit of the process and how I understand these decisions can be very difficult. I like to stick, here's a rule of thumb for me. I like to have pitchers on my roster that unless it's legit, like in Toronto or let's say in Coors, that if I have them for 2 steps, I'm starting them. And that's a good way to have an objective parameter when you think about adding these guys. So sorry if I sound a little bit on the fence for, Stripling and Waka. Maybe Waka over Stripling because of the matchups. I don't know, Cleveland is starting to hit as well. Those are really tough. You got to consider them as a bubble play. Let's get into the Central. White Sox, it's all systems go there. It's Cease and Kopech. Don't need to worry about that one. For the Guardians, Plesac is going twice. He's got the Padres and Toronto. I think I'd let that one go. I've not been a big Plesac guy this year. Pineda's going to get back on the bump after getting beat up. I've always kind of liked Pineda. He does have Houston on the back end, gets Pittsburgh first. I understand if you're going to roll him out there, but yeah, I know the Houston matchup is tough. They have not really been hitting great, and I think if he can get you 5 decent ones and he's good here, Pineda I'd probably put ahead of like a Stripling because I do like the matchups. Next up, Kansas City, Greinke going twice. I'm off of Greinke. I'm just not starting him. I really don't see him as viable at all. Over to the Twins, Chris Paddock. He looks refound, man. The third pitch is there, and it's working. Looks good versus lefties and versus righties. Queuing up Chris Paddock. Same for Joe Ryan going 2 times out to the AL West. Odorizzi going 2 times for the Stros. I say thanks, but no thanks. He's got Detroit. He's got Seattle. I know it sounds sexy. I'm just not going there. I'm not a fan of Odorizzi at all. Seattle has shown that they can swing the sticks. If you think he's going to be good today, then I think you start him because the Tigers have not been good, and that's probably a good place to go. Next up, the Angels, my boy Sandoval going 2 times. You got to roll with him, no questions asked. Oakland, a little bit interesting here. Dalton Jeffries, I think he's kind of been over his skis a touch as far as production goes. He's okay, and I don't think he's going to be terrible. I don't think he belongs on the bus to Tuscaloosa, but I am not 100% sold on what we've seen as far as output goes. He's got Drew Rasmussen and the Reds on the front end, Joe Ryan and the Twins on the back end. We know Oakland's really bad. I think you got to get away from that one. Mariners have Marco Gonzalez going today, so he'll be going 2 times. He has Houston and Odorizzi, like we mentioned. He'll have Drew Rasmussen and the Rays on the back end. I really have been off of Gonzalez. He's been the little girl with the curl, either really, really good or really, really bad. I'm more seeing the bad than the good. Don't love the Houston matchup. I did say they not hitting well, but remember, nuance and context at the center of the work at Cork Stats. Houston mashes lefties. I always worry about Gonzalez. On his bad days, he's really bad. I don't think the strikeouts are there, so he's a guy I have no problem fading in a 2-step. Texas, and my boy Glenn Otto goes 2 times. He's got Phillies. It's at Phillies, at Yankees. This is going to be a real test for him. He's been thrown into the fire with tough matchups. Here is my take on Glenn Otto. As much as I like him, I'm not starting him this week. However, I am adding him almost regardless of the outcome. I'm not going to allow him getting beat up in bad matchups as a young pitcher on a just okay team to throw me off the work I've done. So if Otto gets beat up and dropped, I'm going to circle him and add him. And again, it's not for an immediate start. We're just always looking to have viable pieces that could bubble on the bench. Over to the National League, Atlanta Braves, Max Fried. Obviously, no questions there. Charlie Morton, big concern, but if you drafted Morton where you drafted him, he's got the Mets, he's got the Brewers. Tough matchups, but how could you sit him? I thought he was going to be good. He has not been thus far, but I do always feel like Morton is 1 start away from turning the corner. I think you got to queue him up unless you have some really, really, really solid options behind him. Miami Marlins, Pablo Lopez going twice, Trevor Rogers going twice. I think both of those guys are matchup proof. The New York, let's go, Mets go. Chris Bassett has the Braves at home, has the Phillies on the road. You got to go with him 2 times. Carlos Carrasco, same thing. I mean, you just got to queue these guys up every time. Pitching has been so tough. that just opportunity, warm body, and heartbeat kind of gets the check mark right now. Philadelphia Phillies and Ranger Suarez going 2 times. So he's got Otto and the Rangers, like I mentioned. Then he'll have Carlos Carrasco in the back end of the 2 steps and the Mets. You got to start Ranger Suarez this week. Washington, Eric Fetty, 2 times at Colorado. Forget that noise. He's also at the Halos and Patrick Sandoval. No, thank you there. NL Central. We go, the Cubs have Smiley 2 times. He's got the White Sox and the Dodgers. I think you got to let that one go. Cincinnati Reds, it's almost like they're almost impossible to start anyone. The one pitcher that I liked, Tyler Mahle, maybe even Hunter Green, have become almost impossible to start because there's no offense behind them. And, I like them, but are they 0-run pitchers? I don't know who is a 0-run pitcher. Seeing on the board here, Nick Lodolo, queued up for a Friday start. I'm excited about that. I've got him on a couple of IL lists, which is another nice advantage, people. If you have a team with IL spots, sometimes I pick up guys on the IL, but I may not even like, because you get to hold them and see if he's really good. Anybody with potential, again, looking for bubbling under the surface. Vlad Gutt, not our buddy Sedler, but Vladimir Gutierrez going twice. He's at Milwaukee, home at Pittsburgh. It's pretty sexy matchup-wise, but I think you got to let that one go for sure. I liked Vlad Gutt coming in draft champions and stuff, but really just was a deep opportunity to play. Milwaukee has Brandon Woodruff going twice. Yikes, has he been brutal thus far. Woodruff has Vlad Gutt, those Reds. Then he's got Atlanta and Charlie Morton. So you can see Woodruff maybe getting back on the right track this week. Maybe he gets 2 dubs. Reds offense been pretty brutal. Atlanta is hit or miss, but Woodruff, has the kind of stuff to nullify them at least a little bit. Neutralize that offense. You'd think no reason Woodruff can't go 5 2/3, give up 2 and strike out 6. Again, you could probably see my stuff's really conservative because I can't say why you go 7 innings and strike out 12. Not really the kind of projections that we're being honest about. All right, Pittsburgh, very hard to get behind anybody in Pittsburgh, though I am re-adding Mitch Keller. He looked good again. I re-added him everywhere. I'm not, whatever. If you want to say I'm a flip-flopper or a whipsaw, then so be it. With these cheap guys, sometimes the same guy becomes part of the churn. Again, looking for the bubble. Keller had that characteristics. I had injuries, had to let him go. He looked good. I added him back. So other than that, Bryce Wilson going 2 times, forget that. Those look like auto overs against Detroit and Cincinnati. Next up, St. Louis Cardinals have Matz going twice. I've not been a believer, but he's got the Royals and the Giants. I got to queue up Steven Matz this week for sure. Then Dakota Hudson has the Royals and the Giants. That back one is Rodon and Keller. The Rodon matchup is a bit scary, but you are getting Brad Keller and the Royals. I think if you have Hudson, you're probably starting him this week. Last but not least, NL West, Zach Gallen going twice. The one guy I like to bet on with those snakes with shapes on their back. Unfortunately, he's got Pablo Lopez and the Marlins. Yikes. Then he's home against the Rockies and German Marquez, though I know you weren't thinking about sitting Zach Gallen at all. It's a tough one, man. A tough bet for me today, too. I really like Gallen on the first 5. My site doesn't have it posted yet, so it's not on the board, but it is something to keep an eye on when it does. Colorado Rockies, Marquez going twice. It's always such a whipsaw and a nightmare and a chin scratcher to deal with Marquez, whether it's home or away. He's going to be home against the Nationals, which is the one team you might face at home. I don't even know. And then he's in the desert against Gallen. Another bad matchup. If you have Marquez, I guess you're starting him. This is a tough one. A 2-step when the one shot at home is a good matchup is when you're kind of looking at him. But this is a tough one. It really is tough. Washington kind of getting up off the mat. They've scored runs the last couple days. Dodgers, Julio Urias. Actually, I'm sorry. Nobody going 2 times. Dodgers only have 5 games this week. So keep an eye on that when you're doing your lineups. Dodgers only have 5 games, no Monday, no Thursday. So that front end of the NFBC lineup really kind of missing a gap. Really got to think about sitting Dodgers, to be honest, now that I think about it. All right, San Diego Padres. They have 6, but they're going to go with a 6-man rotation. So keep an eye on that. Nobody 2 times for the Padres. Clev, Gore, Martinez, Darvish, Minaya, Musgrove. Very strong 6 for the Padres. Don't expect them to move that around anytime soon. Last but not least, the Dodgers and Rodon going 2 times. He's matchup proof. It's going to be a tough one. He's at LA, home against the Cardinals, but you got to get with him pretty much anytime you can. All right, let's get up. You see on the board, it's that first look parlay, and there is the big dude. All right, if you'll notice today, there's only 2 bets on the board. I'm avoiding putting anything before 6 p.m. on these parlays. because I want people that are listening on the commute home to be part of this. Very much important to me. Right, I mentioned that the money part is not that important to me. The thing that is important to me is the kind of communal aspect, is the connections we make, and people feeling like they're making progressions and not being frustrated. And I know when I was more on the other side, first learning, you'd run to hear about a play that someone liked and to find out that the game already happened, and it's really kind of deflating. Right, so everything 6 p.m. or later. 2 games up on the board here. We've got Minnesota to cover. We've got Seattle and Houston to go over. Let's take a look at it. Like I said, it is a short slate, and I'm skipping over those other ones we mentioned. Gallen and the Diamondbacks are in Miami. The plus there is only plus 135 for the win. Man, this is like all me to bet the Diamondbacks, and when the lines come out, I wouldn't be surprised if they try and tantalize us with plus money with the free run in the F5. So I'd say that is possible, like a feasible, kind of viable bet. But the Marlins are kind of hitting. I don't know if they're going to get the Gallen. Going to be a tough one. That one's price dependent. That's why it's not on the sheet. Paddock, I really like Chris Paddock. I've liked him in the past. He's corrected and improved the things we'd like to see. His pitchers moving forward. The Twins are hitting. They're in Baltimore, which is fine. Kind of suppressing offensive touch. Doesn't matter. I've mentioned this. Run line bets when you're getting plus money. We don't need 10-8 anymore. Those days are over. It's a 5-1 world, and we're here for it. I don't think Baltimore really gets to Paddock. I'd be surprised if they get him for more than 2 or 3. I think the Twins are going to smack around Wells, and the bullpen has not been great in Baltimore. So give me the Twins for the cover. Yankees are in Toronto. That one's really close. Now, I do like Montgomery a lot more than I like Stripling. If you found and followed my work on Patreon, I do write up every game. So don't just get picks without any explanation. I explain to you why. I'm just really not into going up against the Blue Jays, especially at home. But I think the Yankees money line probably pretty viable. I wouldn't be surprised if you see that minus 125 close at a minus 140. The Braves and the Mets. Funny, I was looking for this game. It wasn't posted for whatever reason. I thought maybe there was an issue going on. I did have the under circled. My site was 6.5. I don't go under 6.5. I'm also seeing 7s, but they're juiced. So that's why that is not on the ticket. But there are a couple of games that I like here. If you're able to find the Mets and Braves under 7 at even money 105, let's say, go for it. I don't like totals in general. I especially don't like them when you see them at like minus 125, minus 130. That's a bit fishy for me. I'd rather you just move the line. I don't want to pay juice on totals at all. Another kind of feather in the cap for everybody to give an idea of the procedural stuff, how you land on the ticket. So we do have some viable plays. I do like Braves and Mets under 7, but I'm not a huge fan of the price. What I do like is the one you do see for the audio-only listeners. That bottom one is Houston and Seattle over 8.5. That one's at minus 110, so I actually would not be surprised if we get a full shift to 9. Right, so we've done a pretty good job on totals on the show here, identifying the CLV, right? That's closing line value, and though I don't subscribe to it, absolutely, there is something to be said for it. It is valuable to know, right? It is part of the equation. So though I don't subscribe to it, again, infinitely, absolutely, it is important. I do want to know, and there is something to be said for it, right? I do believe there is an element of achievement in handicapping, right? There's an element of successful process, let's say, when you're in front of a full line move. So that is my call for today. That's the CLV line report there. Seattle, Houston over 8.5. I think that one goes to 9. So we got Minnesota covering the 1.5 plus 110. Seattle and Houston over 8.5 minus 110. Both of those are viable plays. We're packing them together for plus 300. I know we've been used to getting 3 plays for plus 5 to 600 to try and cover the week with a win, but I just can't force it. I didn't love it. And you look what happened yesterday. Again, we don't do the show 7 days a week, but I do put out these parlays. Follow the Twitter handle, follow the Patreon handle. I put it out everywhere, and again, it's all free. These dime parlays. We did not make money on Friday, which is funny. I didn't want to make it like I don't analyze or cap losses. We're just off, the next day. But we didn't win Friday, but we came back and nailed the daily dime bag parlay. Love that DDP, man. We hit the diamond cutter, which is really fun. So that's like 2 or 3 of those already we've hit in like the last 7 or 8 days. And you see if everyone pays for 5 or 6, like how we're really staying far ahead of the curve while parlaying. So don't listen to people that tell you can't parlay. You can parlay if you bet 1/10 of a unit on it, providing you're responsible. So again, everything fits into a responsible plan, providing you're responsible. So, all right, that'll do it from us, everybody. You got the 3 pillars of profit. Maybe we could just do do a quick recap here. So we got the Houston righties, Yankees righties, Twins righties, Cardinals righties. Those are your stacks. Yankees, Stros, Twins, and Cardinals. So again, those play for team totals. Those are the games we're looking for in daily, right? Again, all these things. I believe that's part of why my style of this ubiquitous coverage has really kind of begun to caught on, because so many people are saying, oh man, this game doesn't lend itself to profiting in betting. So, okay, no problem. We won't bet. We'll do this, right? We will do that. We'll go total bases. We'll go jock market. We'll go player props. We'll bet the home run. We'll bet the lines. We'll bet the first five. And again, that's right. You see why the process and our ability to be malleable and flexible within emerging markets. Again, right, think about all the terms we're seeing come from trading into betting. Again, why we were on the front, that tip of the spear. Thanks, everybody, for picking up what we're putting down. Please, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends, just not the people in your home league, because you're going to be running laps around them. Make sure you download the Jock Market app for free. Put in the $100. They're going to match it and then get at me. We're putting out players, and now I'm star rating them with prices every day. We're helping you as much as we can. I never stop working. The Patreon sheet has evolved. I think like every day, every 2 days, has gotten upgrades, has gotten changes, because I'm getting feedback. So we're using star ratings, 3 stars for the top players that we'll pay up for. Again, high, medium, low, $7.50, $5.50, $3.50. Best way to think of it, anybody with a 3-star rating is also a viable home run play if the odds are at 350 or above. So again, I'm really doing my best to just do it all, and that'll do it from the one-man band. Remember, when you work this hard, man, it feels a lot less like luck, man. Enjoy the games, enjoy your day, and when we're done with the book, baby, enjoy that pay, man. Thank you, Patty Mayo, one last time for giving me the opportunity to bring you all this goodness, everybody. I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.